Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is your host for Explain America. Today we got to talk about an arrogant officer that has been finally hit with criminal charges. The truth revealed. We're gonna dive deep into this. So let's get into it. On February 26, 2022, Black Lives Matter protests turned deadly when an armored vehicle carrying 17-year-old protester, 17-year-old Donovan Lewis, was driving on the freeway. And they were driving on the freeway at high speeds trying to get away from the police. And they actually ended up crashing into another vehicle and causing a traffic collision. And then they wrecked the armored truck that they were in, this like a tank that the police have. But the officers were not injured during the pursuit. So what happened here was that there were 3 people inside of the armored truck. They fled the scene on foot after crashing. This is all caught on cell phone video, which is how we have footage of this. And so they tried to flee the scene on foot, but they were later apprehended by the police. During the apprehension, however, one of the officers, or one of the protesters, one of the people who was in the armored truck, was shot by a police officer, taken to the hospital, where he later died. Now, while this is going on, people are recording on their cell phones, and one of the videos captures an officer standing over the body of Donovan Lewis, who had already been pronounced dead, and he kicks him several times in the head, saying, "You want to run your mouth. Run your mouth, boy." And that was the arrogance of that officer who said, "Why did you run your mouth?" He was referring to statements that Donovan made while he was hiding under a car after the crash, where Donovan claimed that he had a gun and that he would shoot the police. So the police are claiming that they thought that he reached for his waistband, as if he was pulling out a weapon, and that's why the officer shot him. But no weapon was found on Donovan. No weapon was found anywhere in the vicinity where the police say that he was pointing a gun at them. No evidence of that whatsoever. And now the officer, Ty Chanthebury, has been charged criminally with second-degree manslaughter and third-degree assault. Now, both of these charges could carry up to 5 years in prison for each count. So he could face up to 10 years in prison for his actions. It took 2 years for him to be indicted. And the reason why this was such a significant event was because of the arrogance of the police. You had an incident where the police were chasing down a 17-year-old kid in an armored vehicle and ended up crashing it. But then they immediately fled the scene, even though no one was really injured except for the person who was killed. And then they went as far as to claim that the reason why they shot him is because he was reaching for his waistband, as if he was getting a gun to shoot the police. When they came back to the scene and started kicking him in the head and telling him, "You ran your mouth," that really just showed the arrogance of the police. This guy, Ty Chanthebury, has been on the force since 2018, and in 2019, he was actually named Rookie of the Year because he had arrested someone without the use of force. But the problem is, like many officers, he thinks that he is above the law. He thinks that he can just do whatever he wants to do, and he won't face any consequences. Like that, those types of actions will only result in him being disciplined, maybe being fired, but he won't go to jail. And that's exactly what happened here. The police union has been protecting him for the last 2 years. And now, even though he's been indicted, the police union is still claiming that he was justified in shooting Donovan and kicking him in the head, calling it, quote, "a tragic accident." And they say that he was trying to disarm him, and it was a tragic accident that he kicked him in the head. What they're saying is that his boot got caught on something. They don't have the audacity to come out and say that he actually kicked him intentionally, but they're trying to say that he kicked him accidentally. And they also say that he was trying to disarm Donovan when he shot him. But the problem is that there is no evidence of any of that. And plus, Donovan was already dead. You shot him, you killed him. And then you went ahead and you kicked him in the head and told him, oh, you want to run your mouth. You want to say that you have a gun. Oh, you re not gon na be able to run your mouth anymore, because I am gon na kick you in the head until you stop breathing. That's basically what you're doing. And the police union is out here supporting this. And the crazy thing is that the police chief and the mayor of Minneapolis both support the police union, which means that they support this police officer who ran over a 17-year-old kid, fled the scene, then shot him in the head and then kicked him while he was lying on the ground. Both the police chief and the mayor support the police union, meaning they support this officer's actions. And this is why the arrogance of the police continues to persist across the country. It's because these organizations, these unions protect bad cops. They protect cops who think they're above the law. They protect cops who think they can just do whatever they want to do and get away with it. And now we have more information coming out about this case, including information about what the other officers were doing. One of the officers, Joseph Guzman, was on his way to work as a bouncer at a gentleman's club called the Pink Pony, and the way that we know that is because his time card shows that he clocked into his shift as a bouncer right around the time that the police chase started. The other officers were identified only as 24-year-old female officer and a 31-year-old male officer, and their employment status is currently unknown. Now, this 24-year-old female officer is apparently the one who shot Donovan Lewis, but her name has not yet been released. And the reason why her name has not been released is because of the Minnesota Police and Peace Officer Association requested that her name be kept confidential for her safety. Now, this is the same argument that they used in the case of Amber Geiger, the police officer who walked into Bottom Jean's apartment and shot him dead because she thought that she was in her own apartment. She was on the 10th floor. She walked into the 4th floor and shot him dead. But they argued that her name needed to be kept confidential for her safety. Her name ended up getting leaked anyway, and she was able to move on with her life after serving 30 days in jail. And so they're making this argument of, oh, we need to keep this woman's name confidential for her safety. This is a 24-year-old officer who shot a teenager dead and then stayed on the scene and kicked him in the head. If she is afraid, if she is scared, if she feels unsafe, then she needs to be transferred to an area where no one knows who she is. She needs to change her appearance. She needs to, take some time off and grow a beard so that she doesn't look the same. There are things that she can do to make sure that she is safe, but releasing her name is not going to put her in danger. What releasing her name will do is it will hold her accountable to the public. And it's important for us to know who these officers are, because we need to know who we are dealing with when we call the police. We need to know who these people are that are representing law enforcement in our communities, because they are representing law enforcement when they make contact with us, and if they're out here acting in this manner, then we need to know who they are. We need to know what's going on. And so, they are saying that they are concerned for her safety. But at the end of the day, we also need to be concerned for the safety of the people who live in this community. And the way that we ensure the safety of the people who live in this community is by holding the police accountable for their actions. If you guys like this video, I want you to stay tuned, because we're going to continue to bring you news just like this. Make sure you subscribe. Until next time, I'm out.